Report.
Hi, this is Jeff Angel from Walking Papers. I'm here with George on the Spotlight Report. Thanks for having us.
Okay, well, I'm Josh from the Spotlight Report. I'm here with Jeff from the Walking Papers. So, what can you tell us about your Soundwave experience so far?
Well, we're only into our second day here, and it reminds me a lot of like maybe it's Animal House, the movie. You know what I mean? Because you're on these planes with about 20 bands all at the same time, and then you get on a bus, and you're on a bus with all these same guys, and then you're in a hotel lobby with all these guys, and some of these bands will know from the road, and then these bands are brand new people, so it's like I think everybody's still kind of deciding if they're going to play it cool or they're going to be goofy or whatever, you know, trying to work out what's going on. So
And
been entertaining.
okay, and what can you tell us about the idea behind this band, Walking Papers?
You know, it's like this kind of band, we kind of like tried our best to not really have an idea. We kind of went more with just let it loose and try not to stand in our own way and just see what happens if we let it be really natural and just kind of jammed around. And it's really, we've all known each other from living in Seattle, and it was came together quick and easy. You know what I mean? It was pretty. I think we jammed. Me and Barrett jammed about 6 times, and then he had some studio time, and we laid down our foundation tracks in about 3 days with a couple 2-day follow-ups, and it's a really spontaneous, fast way to make a record. So we didn't really think about it too much.
So how long did you guys were on studio recording?
Well, we did, like I said, we did 3 days in the real studio, and then I did some vocal overdubs, and then we had Duff do some overdubs and some guitar stuff at my house, but it was like ridiculously fast, very fast. But it wasn't fast because we were in a hurry. It was fast because we were trying to be very careless. We were trying to let it just be its thing and let it happen that way, you know.
Do you guys consider yourself like as a Seattle supergroup?
That's the joke that a lot of people say, are you a super group? And I'm like, well, we're not a soup. Hey, he got it. You're the first guy that got it. You know. Yeah, we're not a soup. We're a group. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think it's in Seattle we're you might not know this, but in Seattle I'm kind of a big deal. No, I'm just so. Yeah, I mean, we are a Seattle supergroup, but to the rest of the world, I don't think any of them have any idea who Ben or I am. But to get Duff, and we have a super respected rhythm section, and then to get to play with those guys is a really big deal for me. So I think our group is fantastic.
And speaking of that, you also have Mike McCready from Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
Collaborating with you guys and even jam on stage with you sometimes. So how was working with him and how much input he put on the band?
He just came in. He's the same way. I think he took 2 passes at each song, and he never heard the songs before. It was that quick.
Really?
He's a talented guy, and he was kind of like that was kind of our intentions, to keep everything wild and like not have time to think about it and follow our instincts, you know. And when we make another record, we'll be zeroed in, we'll be a real band. But at the start, we were just a project. You know, I didn't know if we would ever play shows or anything. And then, and then we had Duff, the same thing. We're like, hey, you want to come down and play on a few songs? And he came down, and then he's like, I'm into this, man. And I was like, well, you want to do some shows? And he's like, yeah, let's be a band. Let's go and do it. And that's what we've been doing for, over a year now. So we've been all over the world. It's been great.
Unreal, man.
Yeah.
And well, working with Duff also, how much input he had?
When you play with a guy like Duff or Mike, you just let them do their thing. You know what I mean? So it's like his input is, he's an inspired player, but it totally, I think that was the strength that was in Guns N' Roses too, is like his drive, just his right arm, the way that he attacks a bass has a certain presence and energy to it that is, that's his gift. And so, he brings that for sure. And I'd never tell him even what key the song's in. I'm just like, here, have a listen, go ahead and do what you want to do. And then he just plays on it and does. But now the newer stuff that we've been working on together is way more inspired off of us playing together and jamming together. And it's really fresh in a different way. But in this now, the newer stuff, I'm kind of more standing back and listening to them more than leading it with my guitar playing. So it's it's kind of a cool way to go about making music.
Also, the first time I saw the band and I listened to the album, which I think is pretty interesting experimental music, kind of sometimes. My first question was like, why you name it the Walking Papers?
Well, Walking Papers is a uniquely American term, and we didn't know that at the time, but apparently it means to like get laid off or let go, or to get fired. But like one door is closing, maybe that's the best thing that ever happened to you, is a new door opens to new things. But we didn't realize that in the rest of the world they don't use that term. So like in the UK and in Europe, I think the term is like P49 or something like that. So it's like they have a paper for it, but in Walking Papers would be like if you are, like if you're on a sports team and then you go to your locker and there's a, you get your papers in there and it says that's it, So we just thought it kind of, especially with all the things that were going on with, income inequality and people unemployment and all that kind of stuff. It's like my life has definitely been full of, for the underdog, you know what I mean? That's kind of like where I've come from. And so the Walking Papers, I kind of like the idea of like that name being a, it's like, you can take a obstacle and turn it into an opportunity. Mm-hmm. So when it was actually Barrett came up with that name, we were going to call it Red Envelopes, and he came up that as an alternative, and I think it's better. I was surprised no one used it, but that's probably because in America is the only place it means anything.
Yeah.
But
like calling a band Vegemite here.
In Germany they think they're like, what are you guys, a psychedelic band? Like they think it's like like we've put some words together to make it be awkward, but it's funny.
Fine. And also, how was you say all the process was very smooth and very quick, but the songwriting itself, like how do you manage that? How do you pull the songs? And lyrically speaking, which one is your favorite song of the album and why?
Well, lyrically, I always, I constantly keep journals and notebooks, because I think that like if you sit down and you're like, hey man, let's write a song, like nothing's gonna come to you. But like if you're kind of go through life with this filter on of looking at everything that's happening as an idea for a song, and then you just keep writing those down, then when the music comes naturally, and then you go into these books and you look for the books for something to put to the music. So when I wrote the lyrics, it's not like I wrote the lyrics that day. The lyrics have been written over my whole life. And so then when I hear the music and I find things that fit, then I'll pull those ideas in and then they go in. Mm-hmm. So, it's not safe to, the record's been written and taken decades. Mm-hmm. It took 3 days to write the songs. It took decades to come up with the experiences and stuff. But I really like the story songs the most. I'll stick around and 2 Tickets in a Room and A Place Like This, because they have complete stories. Mm-hmm. In a rock song, a lot of time it's hard to have a conclusion. People create a snapshot of something, but I think that those songs create a whole story. Like in the 2 Tickets, the guy, they start out and it's a nice little vacation, and by the end of the thing the guy's arrested or whatever, and then in A Place Like This, he meets this person, then he finds out it's not a real person, it's a ghost, and they have conclusions. Mm-hmm. It's like a plot, and there's a protagonist and an antagonist, and so I feel like they're kind of, like each of those songs could be like a novel,
a short film.
Short film, like 3 minutes long.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah,
let's do it. And how's been the fan reaction to the album so far?
Well, surprisingly, the fans like it. But people that aren't fans, they hate it. No, I people seem to really dig it. You know what I mean? I think that it's like, I think there's maybe like was with aging, like if you got Duff fans or Barrett fans that have listened to a lot of rock music, I think that they're excited to hear something that's where the lyrics and stuff about the songs are more of a lived-in thing versus chicks and cars and that kind of thing. So it's not a party record, it's more like there's a narrative story to it. And I think that, so those people I think are surprised to find a record like that. Which is, to me, like most of the music that I listen to has that kind of quality to it.
And well, being from Seattle, from the Seattle scene, how the grunge era and the impact that Born in Seattle impact you as a musician?
I think For me, I actually grew up in Tacoma, which is about 45 minutes south of Seattle, and we used to take bus rides up to Seattle. I actually saw Alice in Chains play when I was about 12, and they were just getting started. And so seeing those bands in Seattle, I saw them, and I saw Mother Love Bone actually was the first local show I ever saw. And so I think before that I'd seen like a few big concerts. And then once I saw that show, it kind of made me realize that there's bands that are just as good as big bands right in your own hometown. Well, it was in our town anyways.
And just to finish, while on the road, have you ever get any crazy fan requests or funny story?
Well, we get lots of requests for, It's So Easy. But, this band, we don't do that, so that's one of the requests. I don't know, there's lots of great stories. One of my favorite stories is one time we left a guy behind, and we were an hour and a half down the road. We went in to use the bathroom, or we went in to buy some stuff at the store, and he was sleeping. And when we went back to the van, we didn't know that he had gotten up and went in to use the bathroom. And so we got back in the van and assumed he was sleeping, and we were an hour and a half or 2 hours down the road before we realized that he was missing. And so it was a pretty funny little story.
Well, man, it's been an honor talking to you, and really looking forward to see you play live in a few hours.
Yeah.
Take care. All the best. Cheers.